turn up. Okay. So sitting up cross-legged if you can. Now, if you do, so welcome to class. This class will do an hour of back-focused yoga. If you have a bad back injury, so if you have like slipped discs, recent operation, then some of the movements will be suitable, some won't. If it's tightness, most of us, it's tight muscles, which can result in sciatic pain down a leg, a bit of tingling, to a lesser or greater extent. Sometimes we don't even know we've got sciatica. It sounds terrible. And sciatica is really just an irritation of the nerve. Sciatic nerve's a big nerve. It's quite surprising when you see how big it is. I didn't mean to do that. But it goes from your lower back, so your lumbar spine, down into your buttock, down the back of the leg, and into right down the back of the leg to heel. So it's a long nerve. It controls movement of the legs, connection of upper and lower body, genitals, urinary tract, kidneys. It's kind of like lots of stuff the sciatic nerve has some control over. So it's really important to keep it healthy. If you have any impingement or irritation on the sciatic nerve, wherever from the top, the most common, if you have really bad sciatica, is the disc. It doesn't mean there's a terrible disc problem. Could might be some degeneration or a little bulge or something. As we get older as well, the discs get a little bit, there's less room often, a little bit more compressed. If we sit too much, they get compressed. Hence movement is good. But it can be anywhere from the lower back, most common, through to the piriformis muscle. Piriformis muscle goes from the top of the trachea to the top of the thigh to the sacrum, kind of through, and you feel it here in this like notch. The sciatic notch is where it comes. So a lot of the poses we'll do today are really good for hips generally, but really, really good when you're having a sciatic flare-up. Go slowly. And also we then get tightness along the sciatic nerve. So let's say it's on my right side, sciatic nerve goes down the back. Sometimes you can really feel tight calf, tight back. It feels like a tight hamstring or a tight leg. If it's due to sciatic irritation, you can't stretch it out. You can't. It's like you've got to be careful. So we will stretch, but if you overstretch, the body's safety mechanism will tighten more to protect it. So the body kind of isn't really helping you, but it kind of is. So the body is saying, okay, there's danger here. This really vital nerve is so important to us. Yes, this vital nerve is so important to us that we're going to protect you from yourself. So if you're trying to do too much, it will tighten more. So it's very important to keep sciatic nerve, don't worry, we just started, sciatic nerve issues, to keep them moving, but we be cautious. So in the moves that I'm going to suggest, we'll kind of feel our way. If you know you don't have any problems, you can go for it. If you do, we go slowly. Okay, so welcome. No, it's good you came, because I was like, I've designed this class around you. Did you forget where you're coming to? Oh, bless you. It's really lovely to see you. Let's come down onto our backs. So how is your back doing? Oh, that's okay. Do you know what's causing it? Yeah. Disc or tightness or piriformis? What has? So it's not disc problem. No, good. Bring the knees into the chest. And just take a few little rock and rolls. So even in this position, if your back is acute, don't bring the knees so close. What we're trying to do in a lot of our moves, when we have particularly disc issues, it's not so important if it's just muscular. But if you have disc bulges at all, you want to try to keep a little arch in the lower back. So as you take your knees away from you now, you could feel that you can arch your back a little more, yeah? Try and keep that arch, and then pull the knees a little closer. And then if you don't have a back issue, then you can pull the knees closer and feel that rounding and the pressing down of the lower back. Do you notice the difference? To take the knees away from you a little bit, you should be able to arch the spine a little bit, so rounding the lumbar spine. And then see if you can keep that arch as you very slowly move the knees towards you, And then if you have no back issues, pull the knees towards you until you feel a stretch more in the buttocks and the hips. We'll do that 2 more times. It's a really tiny movement. So move the knees away. Feel the arch of the back. Keep a little firmness through the belly and the pelvic floor. And then bring the knees toward you. Again, feeling the back slowly move towards the earth. 1 more of these. So knees away from you. Keep the belly firm, lower back arches. And then press down through the lower back. Ease the knees towards you. If it feels all right, just take a few little rock and roll side to side. So you just get a little free massage on what can be a really tight spot in the lower back. We were just saying it depends what causes the back issues and the sciatica as to how you treat it in yoga. But generally, if we move slowly, what we're trying to do is explore our body. You know, it's like you can have all the diagnosis, we can have all the physio and whatever, but no one is as close to what you're feeling as you, and no one is with you 24/7. So if we can explore slowly where you feel more tightness, less tightness, what makes it feel better, what makes it feel worse, then you can start unpicking and start to heal. Let's bring the feet flat on the floor and have your feet far enough away from you now so that your lower back rests a little on the floor. So you press down through the lower back, pelvis tilts, and then round your back a little bit. So it's nice and soft. Take your hands onto your lower abdomen. Relax your shoulders, close your eyes for a moment. Breathe deeply down into the belly. Relax the face, the jaw, the forehead. It's important with any issue, any injury or niggle or tightness that we keep moving. In fact, nearly all medical advice now is, unless something's really acute, in which case you need to immobilize, most advice for most things is move, but just move slowly, carefully. And if things irritate, then we stop and we inquire. And what I want you to inquire through this session is something pain, or is it a strong stretch, or is it a sensation? And that way we can unpick and unlock some of our associations with that mind-body connection. Sometimes we label things incorrectly, and therefore we reinforce. Inadvertently, we don't mean to, but we reinforce the injury. So we'll reframe things as, rather than pain, strong sensation. When things get too much, if they do on a stretch, we ease off a little, we breathe, we then go a little deeper. And we do our best with no ego or expectation. Let's take a few more deep breaths here. And the breath is a great tool for healing too, not only physically, but the breath can help to heal us emotionally by giving us space between the thoughts, the emotions, and mentally bringing clarity and slowness to the mind and thoughts so we can observe them. Good. So bringing the right knee in towards the chest. Hold on around the knee or the back of the knee if you can reach. Squeeze the right knee towards you. You can keep the left foot flat on the floor or extend the leg. By extending the leg, you're stretching into a little bit more extension through the front of the hip, but keep your shoulders relaxed and ease the right knee in towards the right side of the body. It's starting to stretch into the right hamstring and the buttock, or circle the ankle. So particularly if you have got kind of sciatica, what tends to happen is you get sensation in your butt cheek, the sciatic notch, which will do some nice stretches there, down the back of the leg, tightness in the hamstrings, sometimes even tingling pins and needles or numbness in the foot. So on the sciatic side, which is yours, okay, we go less than we can. because actually sciatic tightness, which is what we often feel, is a result of the body trying to protect the nerve. So if you overstretch it, the nerve will send another signal and the muscles will tighten more. You'll get worse. So we need to move, but we need to move carefully. I know from experience this because I thought I had a tight hamstring and I just kept stretching it and getting tighter and tighter until I went and saw someone and said, I think it's not the hamstring that's the issue. And that made sense. And when I backed off, now I can handle it. Good. Let's take the right foot flat on the floor and then stretch the right leg down the mat and just let the legs relax, let the hips relax. If it's okay for your body, stretch the arms up overhead in a full body stretch. Reach with the elbows or the fingers and stretch the whole body. Make yourself really firm. Feel the lower back arches. Generally in life, in order to protect the spine, we want to try to maintain an arch in the spine. Good, and then relax the body. Bring both feet carefully flat on the floor. And then bringing the left knee in towards you, either hold the shin or the back of the leg. Squeeze it in. And if you can, either right foot on the floor or extend the leg, stretching. And then circle. So after my youngest daughter, I was getting these tight, I was going to yoga and my one hamstring was just getting tighter and tighter. And as I said, I found out that actually, because I was stretching it more, thinking it's just getting tighter, I was making it worse. And it's sciatica, but it comes from, I think, childbirth, probably, some irritation in the pelvis, which I completely manage now, but I still know this is my interesting side that talks to me a little more. And I definitely know what impacts it. So for me, sitting too much, driving, definitely too much. So we want to think about in the bits of our life where we do these things that we know kind of impacts our back or our hips, how we can modify them or adjust them a little bit to decrease harm. Good. And then release, stretch both legs down the mat, relax the hips, either stay here or stretch your arms up overhead again. So whether we sit a lot, whether on our feet a lot, all sorts of things, we want to think about the position of our back. So even lying here in full body stretch, let's think about that lumbar spine. So try and lift your ribs, press down a little through the tailbone so you feel that arch in the back. Good, and then slowly, if it feels all right, press down through the lumbar spine, feel the tailbone lifts a little. You might not push it all the way. Inhale, round the back, feel the kind of little movement and how that feels in the rest of the muscles, and exhale, press just a little bit, just rocking the pelvis, just a wee bit backwards and forwards. Take your time, breathe deeply. Don't do it if it hurts. Good, and then release the arms down. Bring both feet flat on the floor once more. Good. And then we're going to extend the right leg to the sky. Hold on around the back of the thigh, just below the knee. Even if you're more supple, I want you to bend your leg. Hold the leg below the knee. We're going to do something that's called flossing of the kind of sciatic nerve or the hamstring. I don't know why it's called flossing. Yeah, like your teeth. We bend, it's basically dynamic movement. So we bend the knee, bringing the heel towards the bum, and then straighten the leg. You might not straighten it very far. You might be able to straighten it all the way and bend and straighten. I think it's something to do with the kind of like, not flossing like, do the kids do flossing now? Probably not. Well, that was last year. We moved behind. That trend's finished. I can do it. I'll show you afterwards. Probably good for your back actually to floss. So bend and straighten. Good. And let's do that one more time. Bend and straighten, and then hold wherever you can. You can have a bent leg, You can have a straight leg and then pull the right toes towards the knee, press the heel to the sky and point. And we'll take a few of these. Trying to keep your back stable, just slowly. If it's the sciatic side, you'll definitely feel calf more, but we'll all feel the calf. Look at her. Stretching, good. And then release, bend the leg, take the right foot flat on the floor. Let's extend the left leg to the sky, hold on around the back of the thigh. Soften your shoulders. And again, some flossing on this side. You might notice instantly if this is your sciatic side, the difference. So maybe you just ease a little less. Bend the knee. This is the good way to explore your range of motion and then straighten up a little bit or a lot. And then bend the knee, like this, Emily. And then up. So you're bending and down. Yeah. So you feel if it's too tight when you come up, just don't go as far. It might be just like this today. Yeah. So as I said, you can overstretch sciatic tightness, but you can definitely understretch it too, because often we do need to move it. We need to get the muscles moving. We need to get the blood flow. Let's do one more. You know, a supple muscle is more healthy because it allows blood flow and lymph flow and hormone flow and everything that needs to go through your body. So straighten as much as you can. It might be less, don't worry, and flex and point the toe this time. And again, perhaps you can feel the movement right down. So now hold the leg still, higher if you can. Hold it and then flex the foot. Yeah. The dorsiflex and plantarflex, which is point and pull the toe towards you, basically. When you do this, yeah. Well, it's quite common in yoga to get cramp in the feet, just because you're putting them in different positions, and then release. If it's just your toes, then not too much, because it is, as I said, it's sometimes you're just putting your toe because you're out of shoes and we're used to being like this. But sometimes it can be a sign that the nerve is irritated, or we're not had enough fluids or some other deficiency. So just take note. But if it's just in yoga, chances are it's the positions we make. Yeah, bring the feet flat on the floor. So cramp in the feet in yoga is quite common. It definitely gets less the more you do it. So we're going to have the feet flat on the floor, hands down by the side of the body. We're going to do some little bridge raises, but we're going to do them really mindfully. It's very, very good for strengthening the lower back. Pull the belly in slightly, pelvic floor lifts. All you're going to do to start with is lift your sacrum and your pelvis up, just an inch, and then down. So it's a teeny tiny movement. And then push through the feet, lift the pelvis. The trick to making this effective is to really think about tucking your tailbone under as you lift the bum up. And as you lift the bum down, you lower the bum down even, that you relax the glutes. So squeeze bum, tuck tailbone, lift up an inch or two. You should feel the legs switch on and then down. And then we can go a little bit higher if we're able to. So tuck the tailbone under, down towards the back of the knees, lift a little higher, not too high. Knees, hips, chest in the line, and then down. So even if you can go high into a back bend, it's a really controlled movement. You should feel your bum muscles contract. If you're not sure, give them a prod. Opportunity to poke your own bum, and then down again, and it should be contracted. And then keep going like this, just up and down with the breath. Maybe going a little higher if you can. If it irritates the back, just wait on the floor. But if you can do bridges every day, strengthen the muscles that get weak. The muscles that get weak in sciatica are your bum muscles, lower back, hamstrings. The muscles that get tight tend to be weaker. Good. Keep going. Just a couple more. And release. Good. Okay. From here, we're going to keep the left foot flat on the floor and bring the right foot up and over the left knee. Right knee to the side, flex the right toes. So figure of 4 or thread the needle. Take your right hand, bring the left foot close to you if you can. Take your right hand and press it on the inside of the right knee away from you, so creating space. Option 1, you can stay here. Option 2, if you're able, lift the left foot, reach through the middle, grab the back of the thigh or the shin and ease the leg towards you, which is one of the best. So other leg, so grab hold of the left leg through the middle of the legs, Emily. Don't worry, it's been a while. Through here. With that one around it. Can you reach easily? Okay, the other side will feel very different. So if you have one tight hip, one sciatic hip, one different, they usually feel very different. But it should be a good stretch for the buttocks. One of my favorites is feeling. Again, we sit on this a lot. These muscles are powerful, you know, our glutes. So if you sit on them too much, they get irritated. If you work them out too much, they get irritated. So they always benefit from a good stretch. You could take a little movement, if you like, over the back. Breathe into the buttock. Now, if you're a little bit more supple and you want to try, take your hands behind the thigh and stretch the left leg to the sky, flex the toes and ease it towards you. You'll get a hamstring stretch as well. If that's too much, just keep that left leg bent. Or just hold for a couple more breaths here. Carefully release the hands, take the left foot flat on the floor, right foot down. Just take a moment, let the back settle, take a couple of deep breaths. And we'll try the other side. So the left foot comes up and over the right knee, flex the foot. Hold it here, and then take your left hand and press on the inside of the leg. Option to lift the right foot, grab the back of the right thigh or shin. If it's too much to grab, you can use blocks to pop underneath the foot instead. If you want a little bit more stretch, but not quite as much as pulling it towards you, is that just better? And then try to be heavy through your lower back. So try to be heavy down, particularly through that left hip. Is that all right? Should feel really nice. Does it feel all right? Yeah. For sciatic arse, which is the technical medical term for that feeling in the buttocks that you get when you're irritated. Again, it's the piriformis. The piriformis goes from the top of the thigh to the sacrum, and it gets like a little elastic band, and it gets quite tight. And if the sciatic nerve, it goes next to it, or sometimes, particularly in females, through it. So if the sciatic nerve gets irritated, the muscle gets tight. If the muscle gets tight, the sciatic nerve gets irritated. So it's kind of like, you're never quite sure which one causes the other, but I guess it doesn't matter as long as it feels good and we're making improvements. So just hold for a couple more breaths here. So things like pigeon, you can do this position while you're seated as well. It's a really nice one. Good, and then we'll stretch the right leg to the sky if you can. If not, stay where you are. If you want that extra stretch into the right hamstring, breathe. And then release. Good, take both feet, flat on the floor. Release both feet slowly. Now, depending on how your back is feeling, if it's okay, just roll carefully to one side, push yourself up, find your way up as best you can without irritating anything. We're actually going to come onto our belly and come into a sphinx. So elbows underneath the shoulders, pubic bone on the floor, point the toes backwards. If your back is acute and this is too much, you're too high like this, then you can come further forwards or even come down. You could take the arms forwards, or you could take your hands onto your hands. But if you can, if it doesn't hurt, we're going to come to Sphinx. This is probably one of the most therapeutic poses for back issues, especially disc issues, because you have generally bulges to the disc are this way. So you have your spine. I should have put my little skeleton in, shouldn't I? But yeah, we can see it. They can't see it online. You got people know what a spine looks like, don't they? And it's supposed to be S-shaped. Okay, you know, we sit like this. And if you get a bulge, mostly it's bulging, and it bulges a little bit forwards, not always, sometimes back, which means that when you forward fold, you compress the bulge more. When you back bend, you kind of release it. It's not always exact, and often it's one side more than another. It can be a little bit, a lot, just depends. But nearly all backs might not enjoy it, but will benefit from this pose, even holding it for a good few minutes. We are going to hold it for a couple of minutes. If your back hurts in this position, you can squeeze the belly or come down, as I said. But try to find a little engagement through the glutes and the legs. Find the breath. And back bends are really good because most of our life we're forwards. We don't even realize how forwards of people we are because our eyes are in the front of our body. We never go backwards, do we? So everything like driving, kids, cooking, gardening, jobs, computers, phones, you name an activity that doesn't require us to usually take our awareness forwards, therefore our shoulders forwards. Therefore, sometimes our back doesn't have the best alignment for all the will in the world. I'll take another couple of breaths here. Good, and then we're going to come down. Everyone, bring the hands on top of each other, forehead onto the hands. Bring your big toes together and let your heels flop to the side, and give your pelvis a little jiggle side to side. So just kind of rock, loosening up the muscles. And then we can take a couple of little thrusts, so kind of pelvic thrust the floor, which sounds wrong but feels really right. You kind of like moving the pelvis backwards and forwards, which kind of releases the lower back. A little bit like a cat cow, like a mini cat cow on the floor. Good. Point the toes back. This time, hands to chest. Lift up. If Sphinx was enough for you, if your back is sore, then go back to Sphinx or back into crocodile, no problem. If you can, we're going to lift the head, push through the hands and lift into a cobra pose. So you're lifting higher this time. Hands are more in line with the chest. And then down. We're going to do a few little these push-ups. Can you bring your hands closer to your chest, further back? That's it. And then inhale. So you might not come far, doesn't have to be far. And then down. It's just that kind of motion that will switch on the muscles of the back and start to and bring it a little bit and give it a little bit of strength. Let's do one more. And release. Is it tight? Painful or tight? Tight, but doesn't hurt. Yeah, that's fine. Let's do one more. Exactly. So as well, what happens is when we do have a niggle or whatever, we tighten up because we protect it. So getting it moving even just a little bit at a time is going to be brilliant. Bring the head down onto the floor. Take your arms down by the side of the body. Interlace the fingers, open the chest. Good. Again, just within your capability today, lift the feet, lift the head, lift the chest, lift the hands, and down. We're going to do 4 of these little locust rays. Inhale, lift the feet, knees, head. Again, strengthening for the back. Exhale down. 2 more. Inhale. Exhale, last one. Inhale. Exhale, release the hands. Come back into crocodile, hands on top of each other, big toes together. Move your hips side to side, backwards and forwards, just release. Breathe. And then we're going to come back carefully to child's pose. Press. Cat is alive. Watch the cat doesn't eat it. And then go. I'll take him outside. You got him? Here you go. Okay. So come up to hands and knees. Take the knees wide, big toes together. Carefully stick your bottom back. And then come into child's pose if it feels good. You can take the forehead onto a block. You could use a bolster. You're going to hold it for a good couple of minutes. Really good stretch for the back, this one. It's not that cold. It's fine. It's not going to freeze. So really let your chest relax, your armpits melt down. Breathe into the back of the body, let your hips open. So it's really lengthening for the sacrum, but for people who've got acute issues, say with the SI joint, the lower back, that's the joint between the pelvis and the spine, this can feel irritable. So if it does, bring the knees closer together or just come up or skip the poses. But for many of us, it should feel really nice, a nice restorative way to stretch all the way down the back of the body, right through the glutes, the groin, top of the feet. Sometimes this is the crampy pose, actually. There's another one. Did you actually put it out? That looks very similar to the one you just put out. Yeah, I did. Look. Is that his friend? Kill it if I pick it up. Breathing in. Don't worry, I'll sort it. Breathing out. Come on, don't. Come on. There you go. Yeah, could have come back in. Good. And then we're going to slowly come up. Walk your hands towards you. Come to hands and knees. Feet, knees about hip width. Tuck your toes under. And then you can stay here or see if you can kneel back and come for a toe stretch. You may be here. You may be sat up. The reason this is a good one for sciatica is often goes down into the foot. The foot gets very tight, so it won't feel it doesn't feel pleasant on anyone. Not one person. But we change our mindset. It's just a sensation. It's just a good stretch and it's going to be over in a couple of breaths. Nothing wrong with it. Just passing through. Good. And then release carefully because you can cramp if you go too quick in those toe stretches. Good. And release. Now we are going to do some cat cows. If your back is good for backs, if it is acute, be careful with the rounding. So we can just explore. Maybe we go a little slowly to start with, arching the back. Again, this back bend, pretty good for the lumbar spine. And then round, chin to chest. And do a little less if the back is sore, a little bit more if it feels right. But you can always keep the belly quite firm as well. And that helps to support the lumbar spine. So you know what to do. We breathe in, we look forwards, we lengthen, we breathe out, we contract. Again, squeezing the belly, pelvic floor lifts. Good, and then come back to a neutral spine. So we are going to come to stand. Depends on your back. If you find a way to come up, If it's not too bad, we're going to come through downward dog. But if this is too much on the back, please just find your way to stand however you can. Good, and then walk the feet and the hands closer together, softening the knees, bend them generously, look forwards, and then come all the way up. We're skipping forward folds, proper forward folds today, because many back, especially with if you have a slip disc, sometimes forward folds can pull on it. So you just have to be careful. If you haven't got a slip disc and you're doing this on repeat, then you can do the forward folds fine. In fact, unless you're in an acute stage of injury or, there's no move that's bad. There's some moves that are bad. You can't move your knee that way, okay? There's some joints that just don't move that way that we should avoid. But mainly with the spine, we want to get it moving. We want to be fluid in our body. We want to be able to move forwards and back and twist. But when the muscles are tight and acute, you just have to be cautious. So I always say explore what feels good. We're just going to explore posture actually while we're standing, because it's probably one of the main things. Yeah, imbalance in the feet causes imbalance further up. And often we kind of pronate or supinate on the feet. So, coming in or out to a greater or lesser extent. So I'm exaggerating here. I want you to take your awareness to your feet into Tadasana, mountain pose. So long before we kind of had chiropractor, osteopaths, the yogis called this Padabandha, the foot lock seals us to the earth. And it's more or less what they suggest now in modern medicine. So press down through the big toe mound, little toe mound, and try to even it out. And then press through the heel. So you have these 3 points like a triangle. Feels quite weird to most of us. We're used to being more on one side. And just have a little feel around. I know it sounds really simple, but it's actually quite complex. And then lift the toes, so you're taking the weight back. Now firm the legs, lift the kneecaps, belly in slightly, keep the arch in your spine, but you're engaging through the core, and then let the toes come down. Notice what happens. You want to probably go forward. If you take, so come back again, lift the toes. It's easier to keep the weight back when your toes are lifted. Okay, so notice what happens. If I go forwards, if I let my toes come down and go forwards, what do you have to do? You have to overcompensate somewhere. So you compensate by taking the shoulders further back. You have more irritation in the lower back. We want our arch, but we don't over arch. So lift the toes. Keep the belly firm. Natural S shape in your back should feel a bit more relaxed in the back, even if nowhere else is. Let the toes come down. Hopefully that demonstrates the power of the core and strength in the glutes and the belly to keep us upright. We can use the toes, but you're compensating somewhere. So if you stand a lot, just think about, am I keeping my weight nice and distributed? Again, this is our default. It's fine, but you're shifting your weight, just be aware of what you're doing in your day-to-day life that might inadvertently be causing any irritation. We're going to do a stretch of the piriformis again while we're standing. So use a wall if you need to, because if you can balance easily, fine. But I want you to feel the stretch more than the balance today. So we're going to go down onto the right, press down through the left foot, bend the left leg, bring the right foot up and over. So it's like that same pose, same position that we did a minute ago on the floor. Stick your bottom back, arch your spine, and then bend the leg. Do you feel your bum cheek? You should do. You can do this seated. This is a really good seated stretch for the bum and for sciatica. You sit on a chair, you put your leg over and you lean forwards, but keep your ribs moving forwards and the bum moving back. And you should get that really nice stretch right in the sciatic notch. Breathe. If you're feeling balanced, on the OD, you can bring your hands to namaste. But that's not what we're concentrating on today, so don't worry. And then inhale and exhale, release. And just give your hips a little circle. It's one of the best stretches, I think, for sciatica, if you can do that one. As I said, you can sit on a chair and do it. It's easier. Let's try the other side. So soften the right knee, left leg comes up and over. Flex the toes of the left foot. Bend your right knee to make a shelf. Stick your bottom back, arch your spine, lift your chest. You should feel it more in this leg. Yeah, nice though. There's a saying we have, usually in massage, but it also applies to some yoga stretches. Grateful pain, which is like, oh, that's a good stretch. But it's kind of like when it's like scratching an itch, or when someone gets your knots on your shoulders, you're like, oh, no, don't stop. Good. And then slowly come up and release. Give it a little shake. We're going to run out of time for this. I do want to leave time for a nice long stretch on the floor and a healing relaxation. We'll do one more, which is a bit of a strengthener. I want you to think about keeping the arch in your back. As you bend, I'll show you first. You're going to bend the right knee, take the left leg up. So it's an arch of the back, and then down, and then up and down. So it might just come a little bit, might be a lot. There's a bend in the front knee, and you're thinking about engaging your glutes. So bend the front knee, hands down by the side of the body. If you need to hold on, do. Inhale, reach the left leg back, not too high. Keep the arch in your spine. And down. I'm going to do that 3 more times. Lift it up. You should feel your buttocks switch on and down. Let's do 2 more. Keep the belly firm, arch in the back. Exhale. Let's do 1 more. If you're wobbling, that's fine, or just hold the wall. And down. Good. And release. And we'll try the other side. So, good. So, pressing down through. Right foot. Which one do we do? Left foot, right leg back. Bend the left leg. Inhale, right leg lifts. Keep the arch in the spine so chest is proud. And then lower it down. 3 more of these. So it might just be a tiny little movement. Concentrate. Use the wall if you need to. Don't be proud. Breathe. Good. And release. And usually this class is yin. So if you feel you've been cheated, we usually just have a long lie down with some bolsters. So please come back next week when normal service will be resumed. But it's good. So we want to think about that arch in the back, but not over arch. So if you kind of like move like this, you should feel the difference. We're going to do a little back bend actually from here. Back bend's really good for contracting the core. Use your legs though, not your back. Lift up out of the chest, firm the thighs, and then simply lean back, just a touch. If your back hurts, don't go so far. You should feel your belly switch on pretty quickly, and then up. And we'll do 1 more of them, that's all. So slightly lean back, use your legs, use your core, and back up. Good. Now, if you have acute back issues, you might skip this forward fold. If your back's okay, you can explore it anyway. See how it feels. If it hurts, you know that a forward fold is irritating. You know, otherwise, how are you going to know? You've got to get on with your life, haven't you? So soften the knees, so everyone, hands onto the thighs, and then just slide the hands down towards the shins. You can keep a bend to the knees. And actually, if you do it this version with your back in its natural S shape, it's kind of like you've got the curve. There's not going to be any problem for the spine. For those where back isn't an issue and you want to test out, you can round a little bit. So let yourself dingle dangle like a rag doll, either let go of the hands. You can even straighten the legs a little bit. See how that feels to stretch the whole back chain of the body. Breathing in, breathing out. As I said, if you feel that there's too much pressure on the spine, if it is a spinal issue, then you just bend the knees and you keep the back straight, or you just skip it. Good. And then we're going to take the hands down and back into down dog, back to the knees, and come to sit. Okay, so we do want to use the wall. So this is where you can get your, we're going to have a longer held stretch for the piriformis. And then we'll have a nice long relaxation after that. So we are going to hold this one for probably about 5 minutes. So come to a wall or a door or your settee or your bed, whatever you've got to put your feet on. Get as close as you can, and then you're going to lie down. Carefully bring the feet up. Okay, so your lower back is on the floor. If you're tighter in the hamstrings, move away from the wall. Have a few inches at least. Okay. So the tighter you are in your body, the more space you want between the wall and your bum. And we're doing the same again that we did when we were balancing and when we were figure of fouring, kind of thread the needle. So the right foot to start with comes over the left knee. If this won't go, you need to move further away from the wall, okay? Take your right hand, place it on the inside of the right knee and press the leg towards the wall. So you start to feel an openness. Good. Breathe. Good. You can release that right leg a little bit. If you want more stretch, start bending the left leg. So you might just bend it a little bit, or you might be bending it. So it's a similar thing. So you slide that left foot down the wall, trying to press the right side of the lower back, in fact, the whole lower back to the floor. At some point, you should feel that strong stretch into the glutes, the hamstring, and then so stay there. Where it's quite strong, it's a good stretch, but it's not overwhelming. It's not take your breath away. There's no kind of, a sciatic overstretch sometimes feels electrical. It's kind of it's like a nervy stretch. But if it's just like a good stretch, that's good. That's what we're after. Hold, soften a little through the back. Breathe. Good. Just another few breaths here. Of course, you can adjust if it hurts the knee, of course, or too much on the back or the hip, just adjust your feet up or down the wall, or of course, you can even release the leg altogether and just pop the legs up the wall. And then we're going to very carefully release, stretch both legs up the wall, take it out the knee bend, just relax for a moment, lower back, relaxes, and then we'll try the other side. So left foot comes above the knee, flex the foot, press the left knee away from you, the inner knee, and then either staying here, nice and relaxed through the lower back, or start bending the right leg. Try not to let the lower back come off the floor. The buttocks will lift a little bit, and that's what actually helps you to get the stretch, but try and keep your sacrum, back of the pelvis, down. And then find the position. It might be different. Well, it will be different to the other side, because generally we're one-sided, we're lopsided. And if you do have sciatica, chances are it's more down one side than the other, almost certainly. Breathe, relax, and hold the next couple of minutes. Start to stretch the legs up the wall once more. Then take the knee bend out. Relax. And then we're going to come down. Roll to your favourite side. Press through the hands. Carefully come up to sit. So before we relax, I've got about, I've got about 100 more moves. Maybe there'll be a part 2. I just wanted to bring your awareness to sitting, because sitting is one of the worst things for our back. We're kind of not evolved to sit in chairs, but you know, from the age of 5, we go to school, stick us in a chair, and we more or less stay in one. So cross-legged isn't for everyone, and cross-legged is really hard in order to get your back arch. So we need this arch in our back. This is what's going to switch on the muscles. So if you're tighter in the hips or hamstrings, you sit on a block. Sit on blocks and it helps to release. If your hips are okay, you can sit up taller. You feel this arch in the back. You stretch your legs. If your hamstrings are tight, what happens? This. So stretch your legs out. Yeah. And then what happens? Feel the pressure in the lower back. Don't do it if you've got acute back. So you're not able to move in the hips if the hamstrings are tight. When you're sat on a chair, just try to keep the arch in the back. Even if you pop cushions is a really good idea. Rolled up towel in the car. Cars are terrible. Seats are like this, aren't they? Pelvis under, hamstrings shortening, lower back pressure. This is pressing on the lower discs. This is muscles engaged, spine upright. Feels really odd, but if you want to prevent back issues or heal them, you need to think about how you're using your spine. Same if you're lifting. There's nothing wrong with lifting with a bent, like this. I'll just show you, stay where you are. But they always say, and like this, use your legs. You don't need to. If you've got a healthy back, you're strong, use your core. You can have a little bit of flexion, a little bit of extension. All of these moves are okay. If you've got a back issue, you've got to keep it stable. And you've got to then work out if you do this, you're loading the spine. Yeah. So just be aware of position of legs, spine, and everything. This normal, you can do anything with back issue or not a problem. If you're lifting weights, 100% use your legs. If you're just lifting something up, just go slowly, work out what irritates it. If your back's healthy, not so much of an issue, but we all have niggles and aches and pains, especially as we get older. The discs deteriorate and you just get a little bit of wear and tear. Okay, let's come to our back again. We're going to come to relax the last 5 minutes or so, run out of time. Have your knees bent. You could pop a bolster underneath the knees. You could pop something under your head. You could have the knees bent. You could have the legs straight if that doesn't irritate your back. Even better, because that lengthens the hip flexors, which we haven't even looked at today. Part of back care is actually working with the hip flexors, the front of the hips. Those muscles that kind of like go across the front of the pelvis often get quite irritable when the back's irritable. That's because they're connected, they're not separate. So actually strengthening and stretching there is really important too. And then close your eyes. And let yourself completely relax. Feel the lower back sink towards the earth. Feel the collarbones broaden, shoulder blades melt. You think of our body as a whole. We work in yoga as a whole body. We've had a little focus on posture and some movements, but actually, you need to keep the energy flowing through every cell in our body. We use the breath, we use movement, and we can use ourselves as a little case study when you have aches and pains and niggles. Sometimes it's obvious what you've done, and sometimes less obvious. It's over time, a little imbalance in the feet, the hips. We unpick what we've done, perhaps our sleeping position at night, and be putting pressure on the spine, the way we walk, the way we stand, the way we sit. As we lie here, we're going to send the breath. The breath is healing breath that moves the energy through every cell. Send it down the body. Send it to any parts of the body that need a little extra energy. Perhaps it's the lower back. Perhaps it's the hips. Perhaps it's somewhere else. And then as you exhale, imagine that all of the sensation, all of the tension, all of the tightness is releasing down, down towards the earth. As you breathe in gold, healing light right down to any areas of tightness or sensation. And then exhale as if it's moving through you. You're releasing. It's no longer there. Breathing, healing, expand. Fill that area with oxygen. Exhale, let it go. Finish our relaxation by setting a sankalpa. Sankalpa is an affirmation or a positive resolve. We say it's our heart's desire. We can't say it in the future tense or that I will be, but that I am. For today, I am healed. I am healthy. I am strong. I am healed. I am healthy. I am strong. Repeat to yourself in your mind 3 times now. And keep repeating to yourself with real belief that it's true. The more we reinforce negatives about our body, the more they become. We send energy. So it doesn't mean not paying attention, the opposite. But we send compassion to the bits of our body that are struggling at the moment. We send more love, we send more energy. And we convince ourselves, I am healed. The mind is a powerful thing. We can use it. Good. And then we're going to start to breathe more deeply, bring some movement into the fingers and toes, wrists and ankles. If it feels good, bring the knees to the chest, give yourself a little hug, otherwise just feet on the floor is fine. Just kind of give a little rock and roll side to side over the lower back. And roll down to your favorite side, whichever one feels better for you. If your back is acute, just contract your belly a bit more as you do, just to make sure that you're not straining anything. Good. And then we're going to push ourselves up to sit. Any upright position, again, try to find that S shape in your spine. If that's difficult, you could use a wall, bend the legs, use some bricks to sit on. Moving the hands to the heart center. We finish our practice together with Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. You can listen or join in. Take a deep breath together. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you for joining me, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. Namaste. Well done. Hope you enjoyed.